Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest. He's, she is the author of the book Time is Power, Create Space for What Matters Most, no other than Miss Janice Rostrom. Welcome to Book 101, Miss Janice, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here. I am Janice Rostron. I am a professional organizer and chronic disorganization specialist. I'm the owner of Just Focus and Reorganize LLC. That's my professional organizing company. And this book was actually started out as my pandemic project. I work in people's homes. I help people declutter and organize their homes and home offices. And during the pandemic, I couldn't go into people's homes and home offices, so I had to pivot a bit. And so I started an online productivity course. So I created. It was something I had been kind of thinking about for a while, and the pandemic kind of gave me that space for it. So I did an online course with 10 modules that covered anything from calendars and emails and paper organizing and contacts and business cards and all of that, password management, all of the things that kind of take up and waste our time in our days. So I really wanted the course to really focus on self care and work life balance, kind of at its core. So that's kind of the big overarching premise of the book, and then get into the nitty gritty of the organizing as well. So I did that online course when I was, not in people's homes during the pandemic. And then once I was able to open up again, business picked up and I kind of put that course on the back burner. And then in 2022, I moved from Los Angeles to Denver, Colorado, and expanded my business here. So as I was, taking the time to build the business and get the word out about what I do, I kind of took that extra time that I had and turned those 10 modules into a 10 chapter book. So that was kind of that journey.
Miss Janice Rostrom, thank you so much for sharing your self help book. What does the phrase time is power mean in the context of this book?
So I start off by quoting Benjamin Franklin that time is money. And I kind of refute that and say, no, time is power, because we don't just want to be spending our time just the hustle and making money, and that's what's really going to lead to burnout. Before I was a professional organizer, I was a public school teacher, and all of every moment of every day was focused on work and thinking about work and all of that. And I really burnt out after 8 years of teaching, and my mental health suffered, my physical health suffered. So I really want us to remember that how we spend our time, that's our most powerful asset. We do have the power to make money during that time, but we also have the power to rest, to connect with friends, to to exercise, to take care of our bodies. Like all of that takes up our time, and all of that is so important. And we have the power to decide how we spend our time. A lot of people, especially a lot of my clients I work with, are completely overwhelmed, and they don't feel like they really know where the day goes. And so I really want people to be more self-conscious and more aware of how they're spending their time, and they get to make those decisions and set the boundaries when they don't want to spend their time on something. And then with all of the organizing systems I have in there, there's ways to simplify your systems and take back the time you're wasting on, emails and piles of paper and, phone calls and all of that. So, yeah.
So, Miss Janice, how can redefining a relationship with times transform our lives?
So I really want, I say it over and over in the book, to put it on the calendar. So I really think of the calendar as kind of a physical manifestation of time. Even though time, it's intangible, it's elusive. So that's a way that we can actually physically show how we're spending our time, and then actually start to really transform and make the decisions about what we don't want to spend our time on and what we do want to add to the calendar that will really enhance our lives and what's really our priorities, instead of spending our time on everybody else's priorities, and really taking back our ownership of our time.
Why is creating a space for what matters most essential for personal fulfillment?
Because that's the crux of life. I mean, what we don't want to be spending time on things that don't matter to us, and then life is way too short, and our time is so limited that we really want to focus on what matters to us and really start to reflect on that, so that every day, every minute, every hour is spent on something that's important and will enhance our lives, so that we don't, years from now, like what just happened to that decade. So, yeah,
What role does intentionality play in time management?
it plays a huge role. You really want to be intentional and reflect and self reflect, in the moment. So, as something, gets put on your plate and you're expected to spend time on it, really decide, and you get to choose how you spend your time. So instead of just letting life, and tasks happen to you, make sure that you're really stopping and reflecting and being really intentional about the decisions you're making, because that's how we're spending our life, and that's how we're going to develop through our lives, and make decisions that will progress us to the next stage, or whatever where our next goal is. So you really want to be intentional and reflective every moment of the day.
Very well said, Miss Janice. Very well said.
Thank you.
And how does the book challenge traditional views of productivity?
So most productivity books are about getting as much done as possible in the shortest amount of time. So a lot of times you'll hear productivity talking about, oh, what app can I use to make this more, um, make myself more productive. But really, that's just efficiency. That's just getting, cramming as much as you can into every single minute. And I really want productivity to be about the whole person, so that you are, like I said, that rest is part of productivity, that you're not burning yourself out, that you're taking care of your body, that you're spending time with friends and family. All of that is a productive lifestyle. So you don't want to just be, hustling and focusing on, well, how much can I do? It's more about intentional, like you said, and really wanting to accomplish something, as opposed to just getting it done and check it off the list.
So, how can someone identify what truly matters in their life?
So I have, in the book, I have, three things called, boulders, barriers, and building blocks. And so I actually ask the readers to sit down and reflect and actually literally write it down and sort out all of the things that they're doing in a day, and how does that fall. So a boulder activity is something that is essential to the health and well-being of you and your family. So of course, work falls into that, but so does eating well, exercising, all of those things, making sure you're making it to those doctor's appointments. All of that is part of the boulder and kind of essential activities. So those should actually be in your calendar and given the biggest priority. And then I have the barrier activities, and those are things that will care for yourself. So those are things like exercise or meditation, or even sitting and reading, or whatever, something that's just for you. It's not for somebody at work, it's not for your partner or your kids. This is something that will care for you and yourself. And I use those as barrier activities at the beginning and end of each workday, so that you're really setting the clear boundaries between your work life and your home life and your personal life, so that those are two distinct things that don't get too melded together. So you want something that's clearly defining and bookending the beginning and end of your workday. And then I have the building block activities. So then you really think about, well, what can enhance my life? That could be taking a class, an extracurricular activity, anything that it's not quite essential to get you through your life right now, but it's something to kind of get you to the next stage, the next goal. And that's the third thing that gets into your calendar. So if there's anything that isn't essential to your life, isn't creating a barrier between work life and home life, and isn't enhancing your life, then those things can be should be deleted from your calendar and from your to-do list, so that you're only focusing on the important stuff.
What strategies does the book offer for eliminating distractions?
Well, that's a good one. So I really so first is making sure that you recognize that multitasking, it's a myth. Our brains are not built in a way that they can do two things at once or think about two things at once. So really, you really want to stay focused. And one way is to eliminate those distractions. So you want to, turn off the notifications on your phone. Some people have notifications on their computers as well. Make sure those are turned off while you have your focus time. And even set a timer as well, so that that it will go off when you need to transition to the next thing, but also that you that you're focused on that one task, that and again, it's a priority, it's something that you chose to do, and so you want to complete that task in that time. And you also don't want to overcrowd your calendar or your days, so that you can have that focus time as well. And I also talk about transition time in between activities, to make sure that you give yourself enough time to gather what you need for the next meeting or the next event or whatever you're doing. Make sure that you have time to actually maybe you need to use the restroom, maybe you need to eat a snack. I mean, people are just rushing everywhere. You want to give yourself transition time to drive to the next appointment without rushing through traffic and stressing out in traffic, um, so that you really have focused time. And yeah.
How can one balance personal and professional priorities effectively?
So I really, like I said, I really like the barrier activities, and then that's kind of the trigger. So at the end of the workday, if you're doing that barrier activity that's just for you and caring for yourself, then that's kind of the trigger that you're putting the work away, that the workday has ended, and that you really focus on your personal life. And really set those boundaries and stick with them, and make sure that you are saying when you're not available and sticking to it, and not answering that work call when it comes in late at night, or while you're focusing on family stuff, that you're not also emailing or whatever, doing some work activity as well. So you really want to have focus time with your personal life as well, just as much as you do with your work life. A lot of times at work, we're very focused, we're on the clock, but then at home we tend to let those rules lax a little bit. So I really want people to spend just as much time and using their power to focus on their home life as well.
So, Miss Janice, what would be your advice for those people out there having trouble in their time schedule?
I always say just, stop and actually sit and reflect and actually write down everything that you have to do in the next, in the next week or the next day even. And then actually sorting it out into those three categories. So what is essential? What can um, what is your priority, your top priority in that day, and then actually commit it to your calendar and really think about the commitments to your calendar like appointments with yourself. So even if it's not a work appointment where, just like here, like I had an appointment with you, I knew you were going to be here, I knew I had to show up and show up on time. You should be giving the appointments with yourself, even if it's just a task that only you are working on, that you give it that much, just as much respect in your calendar as well. So really think of it as a commitment and an appointment with yourself. And and then set those barrier activities so that you have clear delineation between work and home life. And then really start to, and even if that's enough in your day, then it's easier to commit to less, and then you can always add those building block activities later. So actually sketch it out and commit it all to your calendar so you have a physical um, representation of how you're spending your time.
What is your short-term and long-term goals in writing, Miss Janice?
So the short-term goal is to get the word out. I'm a self-published author, so things like this interview in itself, just getting the word out about that the book is out there. Um, but the long-term goal is that I would actually like to start to teach this again as a course, either virtually or in person, because I think that these 10 chapters could make a really good, um, you know, 10 session course as well. So that's kind of the long term goal with this.
How does creating space for what matters most enhance overall well-being?
Because we're actually really focused on our well being, that we're making sure that we're spending the time on what's important to us as not just as again, like I said, not just as workers and hustlers and trying to make money and build a life for ourselves, but also the taking care of our health as well, taking care of our family members, our friends, making sure that we're really spending the time and focusing our time on what's best and what our personal goals are, so that it doesn't all just get swept up and under the rug when we're just focused on our work.
Yes, and good luck to your goal, Miss Jennifer.
Thank you so much.
And to sum up our episode for today, what advice does the book give for maintaining balance in a fast paced world?
To slow down and actually do less. You In this fast-paced world, we're bombarded with information and commitments, and the idea is that you actually committing to less and giving yourself a lot more space, and a bit breathing room with your time.
Yes, definitely. Again, Miss Janice Rostrom, thank you so much for
Thank you for
sharing
having
your.
me.
Yes, thank you for sharing your time is power to the world. And can you please invite our listeners to support your book?
Absolutely. So, Time is Power is available on Amazon with worldwide distribution. So, please order a copy today.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Janice Nostrum because if you support her, more self-help books to come. So, Miss Janice, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Morning, people. See you soon.